Hello class, this is our first introduction session to PLSQL programming. Previously we discussed the main concepts of data definition language and data manipulation language, but now let's start the second part of the course, which is PLSQL programming. Eventually PLSQL stands for procedural language, which is extension of structured query language. PLSQL is a combination of SQL statements along with procedural features of programming in languages. This was developed by Oracle in the 90s to enhance the capabilities of SQL. PLSQL engine, Oracle uses PLSQL engine to process PLSQL statements. PLSQL code can be stored in a client system or can be in database side. So in this session, we are going to cover the basic concept of PLSQL with appropriate examples, and the concepts that we'll be discussing here will be specific to Oracle PLSQL, but the general concept behind most of the concepts, such as castles, functions, stored procedures, will be used in other database systems such as Sysbase, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL database, and many others. So in this tutorial, we be focusing on Oracle PLSQL concept, Oracle, and to start with, you can skip those red text. I'll come back to this section later. When you run C programming, the first thing that you need to understand, you understand how you use printf and scanf. In PLSQL, we have DBMS output function that we use to echo or to display the values on the console. And to be able to see the results, if you're using a command prompt, like here, when you log in, HR, yes, connected, to be able to write your program here and see the output, definitely you need to activate, you have to activate the buffer, which we do by using this command, set server output on. By default, this is off, so which means your program cannot display anything using a DBMS output put line to make it complete. So you write a program, you run it, but you cannot see the output on the console until when you set server output on to be able to see the output. So we'll be using this one. It will be every time that we connect, we need to run this command to be able to see the output from this function, the DBMS output put line. Okay, you can refer to this one. So for comment, yes, you can use in front of the statement. You can try it in your examples. But let's have a basic concept of simple block of PLSQL. So when you run a C programming, you remember, you need to understand the structure of any C program. In the PLSQL, when you run a PLSQL, also you need to understand the structure of a PLSQL program. Any PLSQL program will consist of three main sections. Number one, declaration section, because we'll be declaring some placeholders, variables, records, constant, whatever. And then you have execution section, where you put the main logic of your program. And when you have some exceptions in your program, you can have exception or error handling section in your program. So for each section, let's understand each section before we start with any simple program. So in the declaration section of PLSQL block, we start with with a reserved keyword. We have some reserved keywords, the words which have a specific use in this in any programming language. So in the PLSQL we have got declare keyword. This is a reserved keyword. So the declaration section, you start with declare keyword. So after declare keyword, you go on and put some declaration of variables, constants, records, cursors, and it's good for you guys to start thinking of these things. Variables, you know, constants, you know, but what is records, what is cursors? So we declare all those stuff in the declaration section. Then execution section, this is a very important block. It's not optional block. The first one and the third one, those are optional block. If you're not declaring any variable, you don't need this section. If you're not handling any exception, you don't need this section. But any program in the PLSQL will have this section, execution section. So this is where you put the logic of your program. You start with begin keyword and end with end keyword. This is a mandatory section. Okay, and is the section where the program logic is written to perform any task. If you are using other programming constructs like loops, conditional statements, you put all those stuff in execution section. So between begin keyword and end keyword. So about the exception section? Yes, we know exceptions. If you're dealing with exceptions in your program, you know a number of exceptions. If you're dealing with exceptions in your program, you make sure that those exceptions you needed to catch, you catch those exceptions in exception handling section, which is optional. Okay, and if you have any error in your program, please handle those errors in this section. So the main purpose of having exception handling section is to make sure that your program will not terminate abruptly. There is a keyword abruptly here. Your program will not terminate abruptly. Your program will not terminate in a way that you did not expect. You need to have a full control on how you want your program to terminate. And again, as you know from C programming, every statement in the PLSQL will end with a semicolon, with exceptions of what? Those reserved keyword, those reserved keywords, the loops, whatever. But generally, any other statement will end with a semicolon. And the PLSQL block can be nested. You can have a block within another block. So let's look at this complete structure. This is something very simple and something that we need to remember every time we need to write a PLSQL program. So we have declare keyword to mark the beginning of the declaration section. Okay, you can declare whatever you want. And we have a begin, which marks the beginning of execution section. So from beginning to the end, and the end ends also with a semicolon. And we put the program logic here. If we have some errors we needed to handle, that will come under exception handling section, and that is marked with exception keyword. Then we put the code for handling exceptions. So if you check this word, exception is part of execution section, because this is the entire execution section, and inside we have exception handling section. Well, so I think we can start with simple examples. When you run a C programming, you start by writing a very simple program like hello world the program in C, hello world the program in Java. Then you need to do the same. When you run a PLSQL, you can start by writing a simple example. So now you remember what I said. Number one, you needed to activate the buffer, set server output on, to make sure that whatever you write, you'll be able to display it on the screen. So without this function, you can write your program, can execute your program, and you may not be able to see the output on the screen. So now, If you are declaring something, yes, you put a declaration like a keyword declare. Are you declaring something? Probably yes. Let's declare something like name, and the name is going to be like a varchar, and we put some like a 30 characters. This is a name. I'll say the name is John, and now I finish the declaration. I go to execution section, begin. I bring my function here, dbms output. I put line. Okay, I put name, something like this one. I'm not catching exceptions. I end my program and I can execute it. So if you use the web interface, you don't need to put backslash to execute. You can just click run. But since we are in a command prompt, you put the backslash to inform Oracle Engine that we want to see the output of this program. So you can see the program will display John. Alright? The program will display John. If you did not write this statement before, you will not be able to see this output because the buffer was not activated, so that this function, the output from this function can be displayed on the screen. This one will always come because it's not related to our program. Alright. So if you're not declaring any variable, that's what we said, that we can even ignore declaration section. Okay, can simply say begin dbms output, put line, and say hello world, hello world. This is something that you can do even when you learn C program. Okay, of course I need it to remember end, and you can see hello world. Can it be single quotes here, or can it be double quotes? So let's try with double quotes. Begin dbms output, put line, hello world, and I put a backslash to call the output. Okay, should be single quote. Okay, I thought the two quotes will work, but it's okay. Now you can go with one quote. That was my good assumption, but it doesn't work. Let's put a single quote. It has to be single quote, not a double quote. Okay. dbms output, put line. Okay, that's fine. Then I say and. Alright, this is a simple hello world program in a PLSQL. Then why do we need the PLSQL? We have some advantages of PLSQL. We summarize this like how many? 4 main advantages. Number 1, let's look at advantage number 1. Number 1, it's a block structure. What does it mean? So PLSQL consists of a block of code. If you look at this simple program, between begin and end, we can have a number of statements. So it's a block structure. So, and it can be nested. We can have another begin and inside our program, even declare. We do that example, we'll see. Number 2, procedural language capability. So the concept of loops, if else statements and whatever, we can use the same in the PLSQL. Number 3, better performance, because the PLSQL engine can process multiple SQL statements simultaneously as if they are a single block, and then you can reduce network traffic. Then also error handling, since it has exception handling section, PLSQL can deal well with some logical errors, can handle those errors. Alright, these are 4 main advantages of PLSQL. Now we can move on to the placeholders. What is a placeholder? Placeholder are temporary storage area. Can be variable, can be a constant, can be records. And Oracle will define a placeholder to store the data temporarily, which are used to manipulate data during the execution of a PLSQL block. Depending on the kind of data you want to store, you can define which placeholders you want. For example, yes, you have to give a name and data type. If you need to store the dates, you need to declare the placeholder as a date. If you are going to store the string names, whatever, you need to consider char or varchar. If you need to store the numbers, you have got a number. This is date, long number. If you have like a longer text, you have got a blob and a globe. So many types. Any acceptable data type in Oracle you can use as a placeholder. So let's start with a variable. In the PLSQL you have a variables as we do in C or C++ or Java, whatever. So those are the placeholders which you can store the value. This value can change through the PLSQL block. The reason why we call it a variable is that the value stored in that placeholder can change. And the general syntax to declare a variable, check this one. We start with the variable name. So if you are in C, we'll always start with the data type or Java. But in Oracle, we don't start with the data type. We start with the name, then the type comes after. Alright, this is very important. The variable name comes first, then the data type comes next. If you wanted to initialize a value, you go with column and equal, then you put a value. So variable name, data type, and the optional, you can specify if this can be null or not, and you can even initialize a value. But in our examples, we do initialization first, then we can assign a value later, or we do both. Let's do those examples. I think it's better for you guys to understand. Now let's say we're going to write a program and we declare two variables. One is going to be name, the other one is going to be the age. So I'll go with this way: declare the first variable. I don't start with the type, I start with the name. So I start with the name of a variable. Your name, and it's going to be of varchar, maybe 30 characters. Then I put also your age, and age is going to be like a number. You can be up to 100 years old. That is the 3 dates. Then in the declaration section, I can assign a value to those variables. For example, your name. So the assignment operator in the PLSQL, it's not equal, it's column equal. So your name is John Peter, for example. Then your age is 40. Then we can call our function to print out this value. dbms output, put line, then I put the name of variable, your name, dbms output, put line, your age. I'm not catching any exception. I end my program here and run it. Okay, what is the problem? Yes, identifier John Peter must be declared. What does it mean? Was declared. But the thing is, might be complaining about double quotes. The previous version of Oracle can accept double quotes, but this one, it's gonna be, it's gonna complain. Let's see, declare. Let's go the same. But try to change here from double quote to single quote. John Peter. Then again, let's continue. Your age 40. Then we bring this statement, dbms output, put line, your name, your age, and something like this one. Now you can see the complaint was on double quotes here. We go with a single quote. Output from line number 7, output from line number 8. Alright, this is just a declaration. Everything we needed to declare was in the declaration section, and in execution section we give a value to those placeholders, and we print the values stored in those placeholders. So please write the same program to print your name and print your age by following this style. You declare a variable to store your name, another variable to declare to store your age, and assign those values like this one and print them and see if you get it like this one. So now let's look at the other way. I can do declaration and do in declaration. Within declaration you can do both at the same time. You can do, okay, let's go this way. I'm declaring your name. This is very core 30 characters, and I do initialization at the same time. John Peter. Then I do your age. This is a number. I say 40. Then I go to execution section, dbms output, put line, again your name, dbms output, put line, your age, and my program here, and run it. You see the same. The difference between this program here and the other program here is that here I combine both initialization and declaration, but here I only do declaration and then initialization later. So in PLSQL you can assign the value to the oracle in two ways. One is this one, the way we're doing it here, direct assignment. But two, you can even assign the value from your database. You can assign the value from your database. We see that, but before we see that, we can see when you have a declaration to the variable and you specify not null as it is written here. So we say this one is optional, but it has a meaning. When you say not null, this is optional specification, but it means your variable must have a value. And once you use not null, you make sure that initial value is provided during declaration. Let's say your first name, and we make it var core 30. If I say not null, I must do this. I must specify the first value. If I don't give the first value and I go with this way, for example, even if I can come and say first name equal John, then dbms output put line your first name, and this one will not work. Okay, the reason why it cannot work, since you specify that this variable cannot be null, you immediately need to provide initial value. So you go back and change your program. Okay, as we have a not null here, I may need to rewrite it. Yes, since I said not null, I must specify the value. Like, okay, John. Then begin. Then dbms. Okay, something like this one. Okay, this one is okay now. because I'm specifying that whatever I do, this variable must have a value, so I must provide initial value. So this one will, okay, what is that? Yes, you remember what I said? You cannot assign a value like this one. What is missing? Column. It's a column echo. Oh my god, I needed to bring this one back. Declare. So I need to put a column here. Alright. Then begin. Okay. Yes, then end. Now you see, you can get John. So this value, you can change it. It's not a constant. You can change it. So if you need to change this value, you can change it. You begin again, you see. Yes, John. Okay. Oh, sorry. It should be declare something like this one. Then you begin. You can change it. Your first name. First name equal to Baptiste, for example. Then I can go with DBMS output line. I can go with end. So the value can change. It's gonna display Baptiste, alright, because we changed the value. So I'm saying this because we need to understand the difference between a variable and a constant. If that one was not a variable, if it was something like a constant, you would not be able to change it. A constant, the value stored in that placeholder will remain unchanged throughout the program. So if I made like this one as a constant, of course this is the way we do. Apart from existing declaration, we add the keyword the constant like this one between the name and data type. So if I make this one as a constant, I will not be in a position to change this value. If I come and say, you see, this is a constant. This is a constant, whether I need not null or not. This value will remain unchanged. You cannot try to change it. If I do this stuff, if I do this, it will not work. I want you to understand why it will not work. Because a constant, the value stored in a constant cannot change. You are not allowed to change this from Johnny to Baptiste. It must remain the same. Alright? You see, the point is you cannot assign a new value. Not only because you are putting a different value, even when you put John here, it will be the same because your program will not know whether you are giving the same value. The point is a constant, its value must remain unchanged. So let's do it again and see what I'm saying. Declare, I'm declaring now a constant, and when I come to execution section, I'm giving it John again here. Still it will be the same because you are trying to change the value which is stored in a constant. So you should not change the value which is stored in a constant. So if we execute this, we get the same. So that is the meaning of a constant. Its value must remain unchanged. Once you do this, for example, this value must remain the same. So at least you can do this and see what happens. And should remain the same. Okay, so what I was saying, it's how you assign the value to a variable. Like in this case, you can do this type of assignment if it was not a constant. But the second way that I want you to understand before we finish this introduction today, the second way you can assign is to get a value from a database. So this is the first type of assignment. Just variable name, column, equal, and put a value. Second, you get a value from a database. Okay, how you do about it? You go with the select statement, and you are selecting a particular column, like a first name, last name, and you use into the variable name. This is a variable name in your program. Then from a table, blah blah blah, and you put a condition. You make sure you get one value. So let me give you an example. So in my program, declare. In my program, I'm going to declare first name, and it's gonna be of this type, and begin. I can do this. First name equal to something like Jean-Baptiste. This is the first type of assignment. DBMS output put line. You can see if I say first name, it will display this Jean-Baptiste. Then the second way, I might say I'm going to change the value which is stored in the first name, but I want now to give this a value from a database. I go with select first name. This first name, you see the difference. This first name, it's a column from one of my database tables. Okay, it's different from this one, but this value I will get it from a database and put it into this variable. I'll say select the first name into this variable name, which is this one, first name. Then from select first name into first name, so I'm selecting this from employees, because you remember I'm logged in as the HR account, and within HR account I have this column. Select, sorry, not again select employees, it should be from employees, but I need to put a condition because I need one name. Maybe I will set any condition to make sure that I get one name, maybe where employee ID equal to 150, something like this one. And again, I need to print and see what is stored in the first name. Alright, let's see what is stored in the first name, and let me end my program. Let's execute it. Now you can see this is the value that I assigned from line number 4, and Peter is a value which is selected from a database. First name for employee whose ID is 150. You can verify this one. Select first name from employees where employee ID equal to 150. You see, the guy is Peter. This is the value which was selected, and after selecting this value, the value was put into first name. Okay, this is the second way you can assign a value to your variable in PLSQL. You get a value from your database. So you can do for many values. Maybe not, but it will be much faster to help us, because I'm about to finish my session. I do not want to give you very long recorded session. I want to give you some very short sessions because this is introduction, and I want you guys to play this as many times as you can, so that you can even think of writing your own programs. So let me copy this. Let me copy this one. Okay, I will copy this. Oh my God, I will copy this. Okay, edit, copy, then I will do I will change, because you can get multiple variables and we don't need to initialize the value directly, so we are dealing now with initializing the values from a database. So I don't need this one. Okay, I don't need this one. This is the end, it's okay. Now let's say we have a first name, let's say we have a last name. Okay, let's say we have a salary, salary, this is a number and be up to 7 digits, and we needed to assign the values, all the values from a database. We need to assign all the values from database. So let's say I'm trying to get first name, I'm trying to get also last name, also I'm trying to get salary. You remember, these columns exist in my database. If you think I'm not sure, let's check. Let's describe employees. Those columns exist: first name, last name, and salary. So we are getting first name, we are getting last name. First name we are selecting first name, last name, and salary. Yes, we put the first column into this column. We put the second column into last name, and we put the last one into salary. So everything that we are selecting is from employees, and we make sure we get this for one employee. Then you go ahead with your printout statement. Yes, we print the first name, also we print the last name, also we print the salary. Alright, then you go with and we run our program and see what we are going to see. So we are going to see all those values. Sorry, copy. Okay, we have a problem because the column name in our program is not a salary. The column name is salary, so it doesn't know what we mean by salary. We should go with salary, because this is the variable that we have from our data, from our program, not a database. Of course, in this variable we store the value from our database. All right, so you can see the name is Peter, the Peter Tucker, the salary is 10,000. All right. Now let's say you are not sure, because you are going to put the first name here, the last name here, employee here, but you're not sure which data type to use, because since you are putting the values from a database, these values must be compatible with the data types for these variables. If you are not sure about the data type of this value in your database, and you want those variables to store the values from these columns in your database, you can inherit the data type from this table. Alright, so rather than specifying my data type here, I will go and say go to employees dot column known as first name percentage type. Use the type of this column in this table. I'll go on and do the same here. Go to the code employees, column called last name, and use the same type. I don't know if salary is a number. I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's go to employees table, check a column thoroughly and use this type. Alright, so copy this and we paste. Oh, sorry, cannot paste. You see, it's the same. But what is the benefits of this? This is very important. Since I need to store the first name into first name, the value from this column, it's very important that we have the same data type. And if I don't know this data type, I will ask my database, please, let's use this data type for this column. The data type for column known as the first name of employees table. The same here, the same here. This is very, very important. Alright, so I think since this is introduction, please guys go ahead and practice these basics, understand them, and once you finish, ping me on the group. I will make the next okay, I'll give you simple exercise. That's number 1. 2, I will make another video to cover the concept of records, because among placeholders, variables, constant, next is the records. But I want you guys to understand this first and practice, then I will make another session for records. I think this is enough today. I will be able to finish this next time after covering records. Guys, I hope you will enjoy the video, and we continue to try our best to make sure that even though we are sitting at home, but we can continue our class online with almost the same quality as if we are in the class. Thank you very much. I'm ending up today here. Bye bye.